pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miller. Burke. Blaze.
Here.
Lamb. Heller. McGrath. Here. Sullivan.
Here. Okay, we start with 207's best. Mr. Messler from last month, Mark.
Actually, Claire is not here, so if you want to really.
I was going to say, you know you only get 2 swings at this.
I know we are coming
And
off
this
the
doesn't
break,
give
but
you
after-
permission to double up on your next presentation.
I will not. I will keep it brief.
Audrey?
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Calvin Wong. Calvin, if you stand, please. Stay standing, because I'm going to talk all about you and say wonderful things about you. This is Calvin. Calvin is in the top 1% of our class and has been described by some of his teachers as the smartest student they have ever met. The smartest student they have ever met, which is unbelievable. Mr. Tiemann, who was Calvin's science teacher last year, heard that Calvin was up for this award, and while he doesn't have him this year, he said, I have to talk to you about Calvin. He said, I am privileged to have such a highly motivated, inquisitive, hardworking, and intelligent student. Calvin is a joy to have in class. This is from his recommendation last year. He shows attention to details in his answers to any assignment, class discussion, or question. He has a real passion for understanding of a problem. His answers are always thorough and complete. In class, he quickly and respectfully questions any material on the board or in discussion. Among his peers, he is looked to as a student with the answers. He also has a strong desire and zeal for learning, and is one of the top students I have taught in all my years of teaching. He's very, very involved. Kids on the Mathletes team chant behind his back, he's on our team, because they're so excited that he's on our team, as am I. He's got 4.8889 GPA, putting him way at the top of his class. He's a member of Pi Sigma Pi, Mathletes, National Honor Society, and Spanish National Honor Society. He's taking all of the hardest classes you can possibly take, and has done that all 4 years at Maine West. His teachers, the students in his classes feel privileged that Calvin is in class with him so he can help share his answers with them. But the teachers are also thrilled that he's in their class because he can share answers with them as well and help them out. So Calvin is definitely one of Maine West's best, and I'm happy to nominate him tonight to present to you.
Calvin, I'd love to tell you it was that easy. You don't have to sit down.
All right, hold on, Calvin. Tell us who's here with you tonight and what your plans are next year.
Here's my dad, and here's my mom. Next year, I'm going to college.
Do you know where you're going?
It's either James Western or Washington University in St. Louis.
And you want to study what?
Biology.
Biology. Okay, come on up.
Congratulations. My daughter went to Case and she's graduating from school. So think about it.
Best of luck to you.
Now you can sit.
Okay, Mr. Messler.
207's best from Maine South for academic excellence is Alex Hyman. Alex, you can stand. Alex is ranked in the top 1% of his class as well at Maine South. His GPA is a 4.96, which I didn't know whether was actually possible, but it is. And has challenged himself through all of our most academically rigorous courses, AP Physics, AP Psychology, AP English Literature, Multivariable Calculus, the list goes on. His academic successes include being a National Merit Finalist, being an AP Scholar with Distinction, a U.S. Presidential Scholars Candidate. He won the Gold Prize at the National Spanish Exam, the University of Rochester Kodak Young Leader Award, the PSAE Award in Reading, Mathematics, Science, and Writing, DAR Award for Outstanding Work in American History, He's been recognized for excellence at Maine South in science, social science, and foreign language. Has been student of the quarter. Again, many, many honors for Alex. Beyond the classroom, though, I always think that this is some of the most interesting things, is they're so focused on their academic work and they have time to actually get back to the community. He's a member of our National Honor Society and math team, but he's also the lead editor for the Chinese and Spanish sections of our foreign language magazine, Reaching. He's a features writer for our newspaper, Southward, and plays classical piano, and often has volunteered to do that at the Sunrise Senior Living Center. Also, he does that at Advocate Lutheran General Hospital, and this is probably where the only thing we have in common. I too was an acolyte at one point. I wish I could say there's a lot more between us. He's also an acolyte at St. Mary's Episcopal Church. I did serve as an acolyte in the church. A couple of things that the teachers have said about Alex. Alex is a deep thinker. This is from Mr. Rosenberg. Alex is a deep thinker who can analyze any historical problem from multiple perspectives. He's driven to do his best work on everything he approaches, no compromises. Alex always came to the table with his best effort and work. I even remember last year seeing Alex outside class during my lunch/study/lounge duty. With hundreds of hungry and boisterous students, Alex found a way to be productive and stay in the zone. With his notebook open, scanning his academic work every day. He's truly amazing. Miss Sagmeister, who, if you know, has a pretty good sense of humor. Alex is the smartest kid I know. It's quite possible I didn't teach him anything in physics that he didn't already know. I could use his test as the answer key. He's the kind of student that when he raises his hand to ask a question, everyone would listen. Ms. Knight, one of his English teachers. Alex Knight possesses a thoughtful contentment that reveals a wisdom beyond his years. Alex is an exceptional writer. He is perceptive and seeks life's truths in ordinary experiences. Alex embraces the study of rhetoric and reflect it. I have learned that I must never rely on rhetoric to hide a lack of true meaning. I must always write with conviction, effort, and truth. And one of the most impressive things I learned about Alex was I started reading through some things that his counselor had given me. And actually, Alex, did you pursue writing your own sort of small novel? Is that correct as well?
I did, yeah. For a while I was working on that, and it's still something I enjoy.
And it was one of his college essays that I read, and I just thought to myself, wow, in the midst of all this, he also was doing something that seemed that he truly enjoyed. What's clear is that when you pull all this together, Alex is a very thoughtful young man. Still waters run deep, I think, is something you can say about Alex, and that everyone kept saying when Alex had a question or spoke in class, everyone listened, which lead me to think he's sort of the E.F. Hutton of Maine South. But because only Ken laughed, I know that it's a dated reference. Thank you. I was worried about that.
I appreciate that.
I was worried about that.
Thank you for reflecting upon my...
You aged yourself, Sean.
And so I thought, like, is that the E-Train baby today?
There you
Is that today's? But it's clear that he has a very high IQ, but more importantly, he has a very high EQ. It's his ability to listen, be truly empathetic with his fellow students that's garnered him their respect. And this illustrates Alex's true potential to be successful in all he decides to undertake. It's that combination of which we can be most proud, is that powerful combination that highlights the knowledge necessary to do great things, but also the insight to know how to use that knowledge. So we're very proud of you, Alex, and you are Maine South's 207's best for this month. Congratulations. Alex, can you tell us who's with you tonight and also what your plans are for next year?
Thank you. These are my parents, John and Christina Heidi. And next year I plan to attend either Harvard or Oxford to study biochemistry.
Congratulations.
Alex's father, John, also is District 64 board president. So, board members will appreciate that.
Hi, everybody. I'm very pleased pleased to have a chance to introduce Maine East 207's best, Mr. Adam Bratner. Adam is very similar in terms of profiles as we've heard tonight. I think it's interesting about Adam is his name has come up every month about for the last 4 or 5 months in terms of a number of categories. And I guess it sort of leads me, I want you to take this in the way it's intended, which is only the highest praise. As I view Adam and I've watched him sort of working through Maine East the last 4 years, sort of reminds me of the kids' books like Where's Waldo? Because you go to very obtuse sorts of activities and there's Adam Bratner, whether it's something to do with the band or an athletic event or something in Skills USA, Mathletes, the Pit and the Musical. You know, he's in all of those places, and yet he still manages to be, easily in the top 1% of our graduating class with a GPA of 4.85. He's taken just about AP, everything you can take, and accelerated stuff. Notably, he's been a 3-year veteran of Project Lead the Way. So he was an intro to engineering design as a sophomore, principles of engineering, and this year in civil engineering and architecture, which I think is preparing him for what he's going to want to do, and he'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment here. He's outside the life of the school, also been very involved in, he's an altar server in church, and he's working towards his Eagle Scout for Boy Scouts as well. So I think he's actually going to put a little time in the board meeting tonight looking toward one of those things after we finish up this portion of the meeting. He's drum major in the marching band, which is Pam Holt wrote briefly, said he's grown exponentially in terms of not only his dedication to the ensemble, but also his leadership skills, his ability to motivate, work with many groups of people, and that's gained him a great amount of respect from the ensemble. As a freshman, sophomore, he was a member of football, wrestling, track, and tennis teams. Last year he placed in 3 competitions for Skills USA, the Applied Arts Tech Department. And he's been consistently a strong leader on our state qualifying math team. And actually, this year he decided to join Poetry Club because he recently sort of decided he liked poetry and thought it was fun, so he shows up after school. So, he's truly a young man of many talents. PE teacher, Kirk Disrud, wrote something, and I think this really gives good insight to sort of Adam and the way that he approaches a lot of different aspects of school. Kirk said, Adam takes everything to the cognitive level. In his lifetime physical education class, Adam used both velocity as a means to bring him success in bowling and trajectory and force within our archery unit. Each fitness day he is involved in challenges his heart rate staying at the highest level he can comfortably maintain. He does not understand anything less than his best effort in all that I have witnessed him accomplish. Our AP math teacher, Mark Dobner, shared the following insights, because I think if you talk to Adam a little bit, I mean, while he's gifted in many ways, math, I think, is his passion and what he's going to be doing quite a bit with. So Adam has done an unbelievable job in AP Calc BC all year long. He currently has the highest average in class, an outstanding 96.8%. Throughout a very demanding and rigorous curriculum, Adam has demonstrated absolute mastery of even the most challenging topics in class. Clearly enjoys mathematics, appreciates its usefulness, and frequently brings excellent insights into class discussion. Last month, Adam received an honorable mention for the John Benson Award at the North Suburban Math League's conference meet, recognizing his love of mathematics and passion shares enthusiasm with others. It must be said that Adam has also contributed much to the math team, serving as team oralist, a very demanding role which requires many hours of study and preparation for solving advanced problems, presenting solutions orally to judges. At a regional competition last month, Adam did a phenomenal job on his oral presentation, placing 5th in the state, advancing to state finals in May. Finally, Judy Tyler, coordinator for a gifted Lyceum program, of which Adam is also a 4-year member, said Adam exemplifies the term perfectionist, but not in a negative way. He's learned to prioritize and organizing his time so wisely that he seems to effortlessly achieve the highest levels of excellence in anything he does. He's highly invested in Lyceum service learning projects, devotes much time to the Maine East community, as well as his local community. Northwestern is lucky to have him next year. He's an amazing young man. I think he's got a bright future in front of him. No doubt he's going to represent Maine and Maine East very, very well. So congratulations, Adam. We're very proud of you. Would you introduce your guests here?
This is my mother, and my brother Sam. And as you were saying in the letter, I'm attending Northwestern next year, and I'm planning on obtaining 3 majors, one in integrated science, one in physics, and one in math.
Okay, Kelvin, Alex, and Adam, you can go with Mr. Beery and the principals in the hallway. They're going to take some pictures. And the rest of you, if you'd like to leave, now is your chance to leave. Otherwise, you are always welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting, which is always very interesting and captivating with lots of business. No, you cannot leave.
Congratulations. Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Congrats, Mom and Dad. Very neat, very neat. Congrats. You're welcome. Congratulations. I'm sorry I didn't talk to you before the meeting.
Okay. Keep going? She's recording, so I'm okay to continue going. Any public comments to come before the board? Okay, hearing none. Any updates from board members?
Yes, and since Audrey's not here, I'd like to kind of wait for her to show up.
Okay.
One reminder, the Peace Foundation dinner is the 12th, and I remind you again.
The 207 Foundation.
207 Education Foundation dinner, which funds many of the activities. We've unfortunately had to have some of the funding stuff. They just picked up the slack for us. So if Audrey comes back, I'll talk about this amazing poster that was done by one of the West kids. It's for the Gab crew. It says, live better, not lesser, and it has to do with live above drugs and alcohol. And this is a poster that's going to be all over the state on billboards and whatever. It possibly might even be national. She might know about it. But I was all excited. It's one of our kids. And then last, I'll mention it anyway. I went to the art show at Brickton, a photography show of West kids. And it was visually interesting, but also there was a paragraph about what it was involved with. It was quite different and very entertaining. It's now at the Displays Library, so if you get a chance, go to the Displays Library to see it. It's really worthwhile. So there it is.
Okay. Any other updates from other board members?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
A couple of weeks ago on Saturday, I went around the world over in Maine, sampling various delicacies from various countries, and it was a very enjoyable day, and I would recommend it to anybody else next year.
Did your passport stamp?
I did, and I ate a lot of different foods, and I enjoyed the dancing and the singing, and the kids were absolutely very enjoyable.
Any other updates? Donnie, you want to talk about this?
Okay, Audrey, you are familiar with this one?
Yes.
I was there present. One of those students who was showing.
Yes, Michelle Banda, one of our seniors, created that slogan for McGaff, which is her slogan to take the higher road, be drug and alcohol free. So you will see that poster all around town, but you'll also see it on several billboards on 294, I-90, all over the area because she won that competition. So, and she had to do it in, I think it was 11 minutes or something. They had to design this. It was a short time frame where they had to come up. Maybe
Hold it back up.
Imagine if she'd had 20 minutes.
Yeah, I might be exaggerating on the time, but I know it was a short amount of time, and she came up with that slogan, and they chose her. So, very neat young lady, one of our seniors.
Anything else?
No, I think I covered it, the dinner and the poster and the photography, as noted.
Education Committee of March 12th.
Yes, the committee met and Barb brought to our attention the need for this board to adopt some special education policies in line with the process to the dissolution of NetSec. And so Barb's going to be filling us in on that. She wants to put it on, I think we need to put it on a fast track for the first reading tonight.
Okay. Belden, Buildings and Grounds.
We had a walkthrough of Main South on the 21st. It was most enjoyable. I think the part I enjoyed the most was Jimmy Nichols taking us through the cogen procedure. He is absolutely amazing. And I said, Jimmy, how in the world do you understand this? How do you know this? Where did you learn this? He says, I don't know. I just know it. And that's the way he is. He's just an absolute genius with those machines. It's a very impressive operation.
But he's a genius with a lot of things.
Yes, I know that, but for sure with those cogen machines, it was very enjoyable. We had a good view of the buildings, and actually now we've completed all 3 of them, and it's my opinion that we're in pretty good shape. From the things that have already been done, and the things that Mike pointed out that are going to be done, we're in pretty good shape. And then when we get our 10-year plan, we'll even have a better idea of what needs to be done. And of course, it was interesting to see the 2 field houses at East and South.
Audrey, how much did you pay? I don't see the strings attached to them.
I just thought I'd throw that out.
I think the quote of the day from Eldon and South when we walked into the field house was, now what is this called?
I'm working for you on
I
you.
know.
And for a moment there, I thought you were starting to slip, that you hadn't brought up the field house. Good to see you keep that. Eric, would you like to bring up the field house in your report?
I'll just see if I can figure out a way to work it in.
So, Finance Committee of March 23rd.
Finance Committee met, we discussed a number of issues, several of which come to the board for consideration this evening, including some policy, a policy change in policy 8000 and a new policy 8001, which deal with fiscal and business management and fund balances. Also, PMA is working on some refunding, the board will consider a resolution tonight, and the technology budget. The other thing that we discussed was some additional information put on the website in terms of our financial status that Mary's been working on in order to provide more information to the community.
Thank you. Mary, monthly status of finances.
In your board packet is a financial statement for February. On the revenue side, February is 66% of the way through the year. And no surprise, compliment to the state, our revenue is lagging behind the 66% mark. On the expenditure side, we are lower than the 66% mark as well, but this is mainly due to our 10-month salary and benefits, which will catch up in June as we pay off the balance of those summer benefits. You can see the funds where we are heavy in capital projects, both O&M and fire prevention and life safety. We've expended above the 66% because those capital projects are done in the summer. I will take any questions that the board may have on the February financial statements.
Any questions? Barb, Instructional Services, the Explore Report 2011.
Sure. This is the annual report that we bring to you for the freshman class. It's the data from their taking the Explorer test. And this gives us a picture of some baseline data for the class that we're going to use as we watch them through their 4 years and measure their growth from Explorer to Plan to ACT. It's this report that gives us the baseline figure for our EPAS growth report that you'll see later on. You have an addendum that we put in front of you tonight that should go along with this report. There were students at East that were not included in this report, about 81 students that represent about 3.5 homerooms worth of students whose tests somewhere between us and ACT were misplaced. So when we discovered that, we retested the students and scored those tests internally. Their data, the 81 students' data, is not included in the report. It is instead included in this addendum. I want to tell you a little bit about what the effect of that would be. First of all, these students retook the test in November, so they had 2 additional months of instruction, which of course means they're going to do better on the test, which they did. And it was the same assessment that they had taken in September, so of course they're seeing the test for a second time and are going to do better as a result. These kids, though, tend to be students that represent a slightly different profile than the students in the main report, because our special ed students and our ELL students are not in this group of 81 students. Our special ed and ELL students are not tested through homerooms, and so it is a population that's probably slightly higher performing anyway. If they had probably been added to the original group, we might have found that our score profiles in September might have been slightly higher. We obviously are going to make sure that doesn't happen again, so we have this data all one next year, but this is kind of an asterisk on this report that you need to be aware of. And if you notice the N number for East being slightly lower, that is the reason for that. We should be 81 students higher in that population. Okay, on to the main report. Yes.
Do you know where the problem occurred?
We do not. We can only figure the way that the sheets are collected by homeroom, that at some point, either at Maine East or at ACT, those sheets, maybe somebody set something on them and picked them up and actually took some with them. But we do not know where they were.
It was actually half of one room, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
3.5 homerooms.
The other ones.
Um,
And this is not a,
ACT.
Did we have to pay for the retesting?
well, we scored it internally.
No, yeah, we actually
Okay.
scored it, so that,
Yeah.
you know, we keep the Explore test booklets, so we still have the test booklets, and we administer the same assessments.
And this is not a required assessment. This is a test that we choose to give, so it's not like Prairie State where it's required of all students in the state of Illinois. This is how we establish our baseline. So I'm not diminishing the importance of making sure it doesn't happen again, but it isn't like we mistake state assessments.
Well, obviously, I'm assuming that we try to handle them in the same way, so where we could, if there's anything that, you know, we can talk about the process, what the process can be looked
Right.
at, to make sure that when it is a kind of a
Right.
more mission critical
Right.
exam, that
Right.
we make sure that documents are.
Absolutely. And obviously, too, we're going to have to asterisk the next 3 years for this group, because these 81 students, their first, assessment will have been slightly different than the rest of the years. So let me give you some big picture. Take a look on this report and then see if you have some questions. First of all, the scores of our freshmen who did take the Explore test in September, first of all, remember that we give it to hopefully all of our students. That's not true with national Explore data. So any comparisons to national data are not going to have a similar profile being reflected. But when we look at the scores that we gave to the class of 2015, particularly at East and South, as a whole, the scores are stronger than the previous 3 classes. And Don spent a lot of time providing a lot of statistical wonderland for board members to walk through. Particularly at East in all subjects across the board, there was statistical significance that this is a stronger class, and that was true at South in English and math as well. West, the differences statistically were insignificant, not statistically greater or less. It's about a class as the last 3 years. Yes, we still have some continuing gaps that all of us are struggling in various school districts to address. Our special ed students are not doing as well as our regular ed students. Our ELL students, again, there are some expected gaps there that we're still looking to try to improve, but they still exist. I want to share with you one conversation that Don and I had about what's statistically significant and what is meaningful. And he gave you kind of a very lengthy description later on in the report, which I found extremely helpful, and I would direct you to it. It's page 19. It's where you have the graph at the bottom. So while we're talking about the fact that, yes, that there is some statistical significance in at East and at South, the question still is out there is whether or not this is meaningful, a meaningful difference or not. And what he explained to me, let's see if I can pass the quiz here, Don. If you see the two line graphs on the chart at the bottom of page 19, those represent the distribution of scores of 2012 through 2014, so those three classes compared to the class of 2015. And if you stand back and just eyeball this graph, there isn't a lot of difference in those two lines. There's a little bit of difference. You can see the gap between the two lines every so once in a while. But at the height of it, there's less than a half-point difference between those two, which in his calculations is about one question on the test difference between those two. So in the whole scope of things, both of these groups are more alike than they are different, and they share about 89% of sameness in distribution. So while we can say there is some statistical difference, big picture, probably they're more alike than they're different. Do you want to add anything, or did I explain that in appropriate layman's terms?
A lot of times when people hear about a difference between groups, they kind of immediately think, okay, group 1 is like this and group 2 is like this, but in most instances, the distributions they have more in common than they have different. So the difference between the means there, that small little sliver of the graph, is what is statistically significant because we had such a large sample size, but when you consider that difference in terms of the whole distribution of scores, it's a relatively small effect.
Any questions? Okay, Barb, the Illinois State Scholars Report, 2012-2013.
Okay, as we bring to you every time at this point in the year, this is simply a listing of our Illinois State Scholars. This year we have 233 students who are going to be afforded this recognition, with the breakdown as shown on your board book item, and the names of the students listed there. And you have kind of a little bit of knowledge in the campaign too.
Any questions? Okay. All right, monthly update on FOIA requests.
2 requests this month, both processed.
Policies and procedures. First reading for 8,000 and 8,001.
First policy in 8,000 on page 2, we added a 5th component, and that component says that the Board of Education shall make every reasonable effort to annually adopt a balanced budget that does not engage in deficit spending its operating funds, education operation, maintenance, and transportation. In the event that the Board of Education posts a deficit in the operating funds of more than 2% of annual expenditures, the administration shall develop a budget reduction plan that eliminates the deficit and present that plan to the Board of Education. After some discussion with the Finance Committee, this was a paragraph that we felt captured the district's commitment to living within its means, gives you some latitude, but also has a trigger that at the end of the year, if your deficit's greater than 2% in your operating funds, we have to come up with a proposal to present to the board.
To meet that difference, or?
Well, and I think it'll depend on what the next year's budget looks like. If the next year budget would post 104%, the goal would be to present a plan that would eliminate the deficit, bring it back within that range.
Actually, I think the plan, as you expressed it, Mary, during the meeting, was really to eliminate the deficit. And the 2% means that we're not pulling the trigger every year, so that every year there's not, a fire bill to bring us a whole plan, but, that the work would continue behind the scenes, that the administration would obviously always be working towards not engaging in deficit spending, but, we don't want to have the formal structure of the reporting, what we did here a few years ago when we had the very large deficit and all the work went on at that point in time. So the administration took the point that, the deficits are not excessive, manage it, and at that point in time, I guess a little bit, they would have to come with a more formalized structure.
And one of the key things that we looked at is, this is an after the fact. We may adopt a budget that has a deficit of greater than 2%, but I think as everybody who works with the district knows, it's always okay not to spend all of your money in your budget, but it's really not okay to go over budget. So in all likelihood, it's our expectation that our actual will be better than the budget that we adopt.
And that's been demonstrated in recent years.
Right.
It's probably been demonstrated every year, but, this language was some, I think we worked carefully with the Finance Committee to find language that captured the spirit of what the Finance Committee was looking for, and a commitment to posting balanced budgets, and at the same time give the board and the administration enough latitude to make that happen without doing anything in a draconian manner. And I certainly endorse this language as written here, given the work we've done with the Finance Committee.
I assume it was a unanimous support on the committee.
I think that, we've spent a lot of time talking about these policies and thinking about our responsibility to taxpayers, our desire to run the school district in a fiscally responsible way, but at the same point in time, not to tie everybody in such a straitjacket that an excessive amount of time is spent trying to manage what would be small variances as opposed to the variances that I think, if they were allowed to continue, would threaten the financial well-being of the district.
Some way, this just, I don't want to say just, we spent a lot of time, but it underscores our commitment to be fiscally prudent.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do appreciate, I think the Finance Committee worked very hard listening and finding a place here where I think everyone's interests lie, but the overriding commitment is just a commitment to not deficit spend.
Jeff, any other questions? 8001.
8001 is a brand new policy. This is our first foray into a fund balance policy. And really, this policy represents the district's philosophy of fund balance. On why do we have a fund balance? What does it do for us? How does it generate interest income? And then our commitment to be good stewards of the taxpayer's dollar. So it's not a hard and fast percentage as you see in some fund balances, because as we look at what the state says a minimum fund balance should be, if your minimum fund balance has you during short-term borrowing, that's not a good thing. So it's not a level that we would want to put in our fund balance policy. One of our goals is to not do short-term borrowing. So this fund balance policy suggests that, dictates that we have to keep a sufficient fund balance to avoid that short-term borrowing.
I would just add that these two policies, or rather the two goals, we've moved things around a little bit of both addressing fund balances and policy, and addressing the school district's desire to be financially careful with the taxpayers' money has been a very long process. In fact, I would say somewhere there of 18 to 24 months. We've been considering these, and I'm very pleased with the efforts of Margaret and Ed on the committee, as well as the administration, in trying to find something that would accomplish all of those goals.
The goals, I mean, these goals conflict with our, in many instances, with our goals of providing the best possible education for the students in the district. So there's a very strong tension there.
Did you say they conflict with those goals?
Well, I mean, there's a conflict. We want to spend money to provide that education, but at the same point in time.
Healthy tension.
Yeah, healthy tension. We have to retain money and keep those fund balances healthy, so we're treating the taxpayers' dollars with respect, we're providing that financial stability for future students. So if we spend it all today, we don't have money at some point in time in the future when, say, the economy will enter a crisis of some kind.
I think it's about protecting the school district.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, so it's not really a conflict, it's just that tension to...
Well,
It's more of a tension.
it's not a conflict of policy, it's a conflict of desire and operations. I mean, we desire to have,
everything.
yeah, to have everything,
Right.
to be all things to all people.
Or some new programs,
Or to have
or
a
how about sophomore
a
star?
1 to 5 or 1 to 12 ratio in the classroom. But the requirement that we maintain a balance in our funds for the future conflicts with our ability to buy anything we want to be on. It's not a policy conflict, it's an ideals conflict.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
But this is actually, I mean, the key to the balanced budget policy, or the desire not to be more out of whack than 2%, is actually an eye towards the future. So what they're setting is they're setting a view that in the future they want to make sure they have enough money to do all those things that they want.
Is there a reason that you did not come up with a percentage of expenditures versus fund balance?
Probably a couple of good reasons, and first I want to commend Eric as chairman of the finance committee. I think he's right. We've been at this for a year and a half, and he's been very patient but persistent on this, and I think we've gotten to a place where we can all agree about that. One reason, Eldon, is on a percentage. What people have to understand is that that's not a fixed number, because as your budget grows, that really to maintain that percentage, if you get near the the threshold of that percentage, your fund balance really needs to grow along with it, and that's an important concept. And I think to Mary's point, if you start looking for what's the standard, everyone has a different opinion on that. And if you certainly go by the state standard in Cook County, you're going to be short-term borrowing. We have saved the taxpayers, the board has saved the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars, which really doesn't get talked about because we don't do short-term borrowing. And that is we probably don't speak enough about this in terms of the stewardship, but that's an important aspect. And so I think, the board, the finance committee in particular, was very cognizant of keeping it at a level that, A, we didn't have to necessarily defend it, but not getting anywhere close to, as soon as you set a target of 30%, well, the expectation will be spend 30%.
And I think that the percentage and where the state percentage may work for the majority of counties, for instance, in every county except Cook, your taxes come in June and August, and you always take that June payment and say it's not available for the current fiscal year, so it doesn't count in fund balance. So 50% of your revenue has already been deferred. So if you've got a 25% fund balance, you've really got 75%. But that doesn't work in Cook County. You can't defer that March payment of taxes because you still have 25% of your year. So you're going to spend those funds. So I think that that's kind of why we didn't, the percentage doesn't work well in every situation.
So the 2% is your percentage figure that you're working from, based upon last year's budget?
No, 2% is 2% is an 8,000. Right now you're focused on 8,001. And 8,001, policy 8,001, uses that standard when the state talks about whether or not we have a healthy fund reserve.
Right.
And so what they're just saying is in the healthy fund reserve, they're not establishing a percentage. whereas 20% may be the state's minimum. That's not a healthy fund reserve, that's not a safe fund reserve.
But you're going back to the deficit spending of 2% in a
So,
calendar.
so then you go back to policy 8,000, and it is actually a 2% deficit spend of expenditures. Within the expenditures, if it's 2% into the deficit, then it requires some corrective,
Right.
greater than 2%.
Yeah.
It requires some corrective
I
action.
A
understand
formal
that.
corrective
Yeah.
process at that
Process.
point in time.
And it's only a recommendation to the board who, you know, we could look at a whole variety of other factors at that point and choose to adopt. I mean, I think, and we talked a lot about this in the finance committee, that we would always keep an eye on places where we
And that's essentially the same process that was used to great effect when we had
Yeah.
some budgetary issues several years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
That's the same process that was used several years ago when we had some budgetary issues. And I think it worked out very well for the taxpayers in the school district.
Of course, our team's goal is to not end up there again.
Okay, and then my other question is that pretty much, are there any more outstanding issues or questions related to this kind of major concept, or are we done with this part?
I got wood. We're good.
First read.
I mean, the
Yeah.
state still has some
Yeah.
financial problems, so.
There are no other policies sitting in the finance committee that are under consideration.
So any other questions on the first reading on 8,000 or 8,001? Hearing none, we'll move on to consent agenda 7A through 7I.
So
Is there a desire to pull anything out of consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion? Mr. Hayes, motion, Mr. second. Questions or comments on the motion? Call the roll.
Lees,
Aye.
Miller, Grant,
Yes.
McGrath, aye. Burke,
Yes.
Heller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. 8, policies and procedures, second reading on 1141, employment professional other employees, and 6960, which is the policy of the Main Township Special Education Program, including Appendix E, where there's a request of waiver of the first reading. Recommendations the Board of Education approve and adopt the above policies for inclusion in the Board of Education Policies and Procedures Manual. Is there a motion on those two? Burke and Feller. Okay, questions or comments? Want to summarize for us?
On mine,
And yours.
okay.
Yours is the one we're looking for the waiver.
Right, okay. Existing in our board policy are two policies which speak to special ed. 6960 is the big one, and 5830 is the one which speaks to actually section 504 American Disability Act.
But there's no action on the second one.
No,
See.
no, I'm just kind of giving you a frame here. 6960, as you see it exists here, is just sort of a general policy that alludes to something called Appendix E, which for a long period of time has referenced a document that housed all of the special ed policies and procedures that all the MedSep districts follow. And that appendix at various times was revised and updated as needed, and we have been following those. That is Appendix E. It had 7 subheadings that are so listed in our board policy. And now what has happened is that with the process for dissolution, we have been required, each of the districts, to adopt its own set of special ed policies, which are largely the same, but have been vetted by our attorneys, our current and future directors of special ed, our administrators, and we brought it to our ed committee meeting as well.
Our future special ed director, by the way, is in the audience. If you really want to get some questions in.
Yes. And also referenced against the press policies. So this bundle of policies that you have in your board book here are largely the same bundle that every district that's dissolving is adopting. The differences between us and the other districts are ones that refer to high school situations, and not elementary school situations, so references to District 64, 62, or 63 have been taken out, and the references to the high school have been put in instead. We are in a process that has a timeline for this dissolution. April 18th is the date at which the presentation is going to be made, and hopefully successfully made so that the process can come to a conclusion. Part of that requirement is that our board, just as all these other district boards, approve these policies. And we need to say at that April 18th meeting that we have approved them. That's why we're asking publicly that you'll waive the first reading and consider these policies and approve them tonight. We did distribute these to you a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully you've had time to look at them. The one thing I want to make two other comments. If you look at the list that's sort of the front page, table of contents page, there is a slight error in the enumeration, the Roman numerals enumeration, which I just noticed, and I'm hoping the other, it's not a big deal, but after Roman numeral 10, it should be Roman numeral 11, and then renumber all of those. So the last one is 18. There are 18 subheadings instead of the 7 that we had before. The second thing I'd like to say is that one of the things that Pam is going to do, and I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity for her to work with the SPS directors and their related personnel, is to carry out kind of a thorough review of our Section 504 policies, the ones that are here, and also in the board policy 5830. Not because there's any conflict necessarily, but because there's probably some redundancy. And I think that she can use this as an opportunity for professional development with them, to make sure everybody understands what 504 is about and what the practices and procedures should be to be followed. So that will occur, that review of 504 will occur probably in the fall, when she comes on board. Pardon? No, no. Right. Right. The other thing I want to share is that at first I was wondering whether or not we needed to take all of these policies and actually put them into our format and give them numbers and put them into our board policies in that fashion. And I talked with our school attorneys, and they recommended leaving it as an Appendix E and having it be referred to by our board policy. Because a lot of these too are more procedures rather than policies. A lot of them are very detailed steps and do this, do that, not in the realm of policies so much. So I guess with that, I will ask if you have any questions, and if they are particular to the world of special ed, Pam can supply some answers too. She has read through these and feels pretty good about them, as has Lynette and our school attorney.
So, any questions?
We have flexibility on these. I mean, is this largely 504 and set, the Appendix C largely set forth the legal requirements, and so it's not like we're really doing something discretionary.
No, there's very little that there, as far as I know, this matches up against press policy.
And secondly, is this largely
what we've been doing?
Pulled from that SEPS document?
Yes.
Their
Yes.
document. So
Yes.
it's kind of a continuation of it.
Yes. With the exceptions of how we've separated the elementary from the high school. And I think perhaps added, obviously we've added some subheadings, broken some things apart from what we used to have in the referencing. We've gone from 7 to 18.
But so much of it is driven by state and federal law.
And what we're asked to adopt policies that are actually legally required.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't know.
Yeah.
It's okay, the rest of us will cover you.
One in every crowd.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any objection to the waiver of the first reading? Okay. On 11/41, we had a substantial first reading last month and made some changes. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Keith? If not, we'll call the question. Any other further questions? Okay, call the roll.
McGrath. Aye. Graham.
Yes.
Heller.
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Lays.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. 9, approval of technology budget. Recommendation, the Board of Education approve the 2012-2013 technology budget as recommended by the Finance Committee. Details can be found in the appendices. Is there a motion, please? Lays and Heller. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
It's a big number, I would, very good amount of dollars.
Okay.
It's a big number, I don't think we should fly over it. Let me say that at the Finance Committee meeting, feel free to jump in if anyone would like to. We spent a fair amount of time quizzing Hank to find out if these were the extras, if this was bells and whistles, and I think it's safe to say that we concluded, based on his discussion, this is kind of the maintenance. I remember a few years ago when our technology budget was $700,000, and so it's 969 or so. It's a big number.
1614.
1614. So it's a big number. It's difficult for us to second guess technology acquisition, but I think we can wasn't really convinced that this was, it's not the Cadillac, it's kind of the Chevrolet is kind of what it is.
And that our staff is very careful, but also ensures that the tools are in the classrooms of students who seek to do their jobs.
And this was outlined in the 3-year plan last year.
So no changes in classroom operation based on this budget?
This budget allows us to maintain the current technology infrastructure in place. So this doesn't add anything, it allows us to keep what's there running.
The ad was the wireless network.
Infrastructure.
Well, that's not even an ad, I mean, that's maintaining and just updating.
But we did.
I mean, we already have that infrastructure there. It's not like we're expanding it all, we're just updating it.
Trying to keep pace with needs.
That's not included in this one.
No, that was.
So we did have an off budget item.
On the first page of that, I do outline at the bottom the 3-year plan, and I do put in that additional amount that the board approved earlier this year as part of that.
But Margaret's right, that was
an
one
additional,
that-
was the storage servers and the
Wireless.
wireless
Yeah.
capacity, both of which
Storage upgrades and wireless.
obviously needed, given the demands on the system. So that was a $510,000.
$510,000.
And, to Ed's point, he's right, a few years ago, we were spending $700, $750, and the difference between, the money makes a difference in an organization this size, and there's a reason that, Hank is being invited to speak in some different places now about what we're doing in technology, and we haven't spent lavishly, but we've spent at a point to allow us to, meet some minimal instructional needs, and then we really back that up by gaining capacity within people and their ability to use the technology better.
Any new positions?
No, this is only maintaining stuff.
This is software hardware.
All right. Any personnel?
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
McGrath.
Aye.
Burke. Heller. Miller.
Aye.
Lays.
Aye.
Graham.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Aye, motion carried unanimously. 10, bond financial advisory contract. The district is authorization to refund the bond, so PMA Securities Inc. will be acting as a financial advisor on the bond sale. Financial advisory agreement outlines the services PMA Securities Inc. will provide and the cost of the services. Recommended Board of Education approve financial advisory agreement with PMA Securities at a cost of $15,000 plus costs for official statement distribution. So motion, please. Second. Lays, and the second was McGrath. Questions or comments?
Mary,
You want an overview on this
Well,
motion?
what I'm thinking is, if you give 1, you could probably hit 10,
can
11,
match.
A and B,
Yeah.
and summarize it all.
We were presented with PMA a refinancing opportunity that allows us to achieve a present value savings of greater than 10%. This will allow us The resolution that is in 11 would allow us the latitude, it's a 6-month window, and we could do what's called a private placement as well, to look to a large bank who might want to take this on as their portfolio. So we would privately place that. We would have a set interest rate. The parameters resolutions, we must achieve a present value savings of greater than 10%, which is huge. We've shortened up the life cycle of these bonds to allow us in about an 8 or 9 year period to gain access to borrowing capacity. We know we're going to have the 10-year facility plan coming on board, and we felt that kind of pushing those savings and filling in our debt service extension base and allowing us to build capacity was something that we needed to do, because we know we're going to have some needs coming out of that 10-year facility plan. So this is PMA's contract for doing the financial advisory services. The next two are both the resolution to do the refunding bonds and the escrow resolution, setting up the escrow accounts, because this is an advanced refunding.
And this is that refunding project we've been talking about for a while now.
Yes.
Right.
But
This
the
is the
metrics
one that we were looking at. The earliest we could close was 90 days before the call date of December.
This is actually different. We approved one last year. I just saying exact one.
Late last year?
Yeah, late last year.
Yeah, we did one.
This is
We went ahead and did that. Now, changes in the bond market or something,
Yeah.
we have.
We talked about this in the fall, and at that point, we said we wanted to wait until the summer to look at the rates. The private placement would lock us into interest rates, but we wouldn't close until that September date. So we would be still within 90 days of the call date on the bond.
We can only refinance if the call date comes up. So the one that we're doing now, we could not have done a year ago. So it's like we've got this window because rates are still low. And this one, I think, presents far greater savings than the one that we approved, which was 2 or 3% savings. No, it's over 3% because they won't do it at less than 3. This one is, they're projecting 12 to 14%.
Yeah, so our minimum would be 10, and we get, and they're seeing 13, 14, so it's a good window of opportunity.
Any other questions, comments?
And how did we learn about this? How did we know?
PMA routinely tracks our bond, we have an outstanding relationship with them. They have our bonds. They track and look for present value savings opportunities in all of our debt.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the PMA agreement at $15,000 plus cost. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, call the roll.
Graham,
Yes.
Lays,
Aye.
Burke,
Yes.
Miller, McGrath,
Aye.
Heller, Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next two items of resolution, 11A, recommends that the Board of Education approve the resolution providing to be issued not to exceed $4,400,000 in general obligation limited school refunding bond series 2012 of Township High School District number 207, Cook County, Illinois, and the levy of district annual tax to pay the principal of interest on said bond as presented. Is there a motion? So moved. Burke, second. Second, McGrath. Questions or comments? Mary, anything else you need to add? Any other questions? Call the roll.
Lays,
Aye.
Graham,
Yes.
Heller,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
McGrath,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. 11B, the Board of Education approved a resolution authorizing and directing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with the issuance of general obligation limited school refunding bond series 2012, Township High School District number 207, Cook County, Illinois, as presented. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
McGrath, second. Burke, questions or comments on the motion? This is the escrow account. Hearing none, call the roll.
Burke,
Yes.
Miller, Heller, McGrath,
Aye.
Graham,
Yes.
Lays,
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Number 12, the approval of sale of real estate. Recommended that the Board of Education approve the sale of the front vacant estate located at 6600 North Keola, Iowa, at a price of $222,000. Details are found in the appendices. Is there a motion to approve?
Can we modify
Sure.
the motion to also include the adoption of the resolution? Forensics at the last minute also, I believe Jimmy forwarded to you a copy of the sales resolution.
Board of Education approve the adoption of sales resolution and the sale of the front vacant estate located at 6600 North Peoria, Chicago, at a price of $222,000, detailed to be found in the appendix. Anything else?
Yep.
Okay, so motion, please. Keller, second.
Second.
McGrath, questions or comments on the motion?
You reminded me what the bid, our minimum bid was on check.
176.5.
And that was the appraised value, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a cash offer, we will have no problem with that. The appraised value is so much lower than the.
That's because the market's on its way back.
That's right, market's up, we have a little bit of a cash bidding going on, yeah. So our students at Manny's can take advantage of it.
What was the listing price?
I think 201.
Mary?
How did that happen?
Bidding for it.
Do we know anything about the buyer? Is he related in any way to anybody like that?
He is not related, he is, to best of our knowledge, he is a contractor looking to rehab the house.
It's in a good location.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Right off the top of the side?
No, it's off of Caldwell, there by the Forest Preserve. North of Tui.
Sorry. Other questions or comments?
Did we approve anything else related to this recently, or?
We hired, last month we hired
Had
the
the real estate
realtor.
agent.
From?
Obviously a wise choice.
Wise choice in 1 week.
I have one procedural question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that Frantic has this set up that the superintendent is signing on behalf of the board.
Correct.
Which, you know, perhaps in the recommendation, it should say the board authorizes the superintendent to sign. That's normally how.
And
The
one
motion,
of
the motion is Peller and second is McGrath. Any objection to extending the motion to include the superintendent as authorized to execute the contract?
No.
Okay, so, thank you. And I'll have you know when I get to that point where you see signature, I'll stop signing it.
We need to cover clear, the November resolution gave the board authority to the superintendent to sign the document as well.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so this is approval of the option of sale resolution, sale of the property 6600 North Toyota, price of $222,000, authorizing the superintendent to act on behalf of the board. Call the roll, please.
McGrath.
Aye.
Burke.
Yes.
Miller. Graham. Yes. Lees.
Aye.
Peller. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Calendar items. Eldon, I bought my tickets today.
Good. I won mine yesterday.
And
How many of us are planning to go?
the foundation dinner
The
next.
foundation dinner.
I'm planning on being there, except I
Oh, and like you three had a choice. But it was kind of cute the way you raised your hands. I'm sorry, say it again.
13.
13. Authorization of work.
Well, you know, apparently, like an elevator,
Yeah.
now it's time to abandon the paper copies and just go to the computer and see what it tells us. That would help. Okay, so we'll backtrack. Forget that whole nice conversation about the principals going to a dinner. Let's move to number 13, the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, appointment of an authorized agent.
This was in the published.
It's on the published agenda, correct?
If I'm on the board out there,
Would you go out and take a look at the board and just make number 13 actually publishes the fact that there's appointment of an authorized agent? Well, if we have to, but
13 IMRF.
Yeah.
that's it, thank you. Okay.
Authorized agent.
Having satisfied all the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, the recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the appointment of Ms. Mary Phillips as the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund authorized agent for Maine Township High School District 207, and authorize the Secretary of the Board of Education to execute the appropriate document. Is there a motion, please? Keller, second. Graham, questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Lees.
Aye.
Peller. McGrath. Aye. Graham. Yes. Miller. Burke.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Aye. Okay, back to calendar items. And so Eldon had said, who else is going? 3 principals raised their hands.
So we have count 13, you said? Is that, I heard 13 somewhere, is that what you said?
No, 13 was the two of us arguing about a missing number.
Okay.
But it may be 13 before we're done.
I guess the question is, do we want to try to set a table
Yes.
for the board?
I think,
A couple of tables.
Ed, are you going this year?
I got a conflict, I may be able to get around, but right now I can't.
Okay. Well, I think we'll have at least 5 board members there.
So
Greg, Mary, Barb, myself, the 3 principals.
I'll set aside 2
You've
tables.
got class. Yeah.
Yeah, set aside 2 tables.
And my wife is going too, so.
And mine 3. That's my lucky. Just one. We're gonna stop there. All right, you do remember that Mr. Potter's tapes these things. You really want to get me on?
So does Mr. Barry. So does Mr. Barry.
Mr. Potter's, for the record, 1 wife, okay? 1. Okay, any other calendar items? May 7th, we have a regular board meeting of the Board of Education. May 7th through the 11th is National Teacher Appreciation Week. Are we doing any special events here?
The buildings always do special events.
We have a teacher, every day of the week, we have something special for our staff members.
That's cool.
Like,
Pins. There's pins.
I didn't want to stick around
Pins.
with that one.
Pins, we're gonna give them pins.
Pins.
Pens.
The right pins.
Trees.
It says West is best.
T-shirt, we do
Coffee,
T-shirts, no, we do.
s'mores.
No, we
Sean
do
does
thank you
s'mores.
notes, staff member, students write thank you notes to staff members. Administrators make desserts on one of the lunch days, we have an ice cream social event, on one of our lunch periods. It's a fun week.
And I know Eric was interested in asking a question about the board coffees with staff members, if we wanted to meet, that might be a good week to try to schedule one.
If that makes the most sense. You know, it seemed like I reviewed the survey, I don't know if other board members received that or not. But it seemed like teachers did want, there were votes both for and against. But generally speaking, the slight majority appreciated the opportunity, but there was some question as to whether it might be more appropriate on the morning of an institute day, because they have things to do before class on a regular work day, or whether it might be more appropriate after school, so.
When is our next institute day? We're done with this, okay, because we don't have any notes.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit of response to the survey. I think it was about 270 teachers that had taken the survey.
The other thing I know that was in there that, I think there was some people commented that, board members would always be welcome to come and tour, classes, which I know some of the board members have done in the past, and that would be a good way to hang out for part or all of the day if board members were able to do something like that. But minimally, we could at least maybe schedule a coffee and, we could probably even hit all 3 of the buildings that week if people had availability.
I had the impression they didn't like the morning, first thing in the morning.
Some don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, some don't.
Attendance has been down the last year we had, so.
That week is also the first week of AP testing, so.
The
teachers
Teacher
will-
Appreciation Week.
Yes.
Mhm.
So,
So it may not be a good week.
right, teachers maybe.
The other suggestion was maybe to have board members come like during the lunch periods and just be available. And I know some of those, the problem is some of the solutions present some problems for some of the board members. And that's,
It might merit more discussion, I think.
Okay, and then May 28th, Memorial Day, there is no school. Any other calendar items?
Or do we need to schedule a finance committee?
We always need to schedule finance.
Want to try and do that tonight, or should we send out dates?
Either way.
Ed and Margaret, would you like to pick out a Thursday evening?
Margaret, does the Thursday evening work for you, Margaret, or not? You teach one night.
I teach Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Well, Thursday evenings generally work for me.
I don't have a problem with Thursday evenings generally.
That's
Case
fine.
everyone-
So, not this week or next week, but the 19th or the 26th.
19th is negotiation.
Yeah. That was the 26th.
26th. Or Wednesday morning.
Now, not that you guys have this exact same conversation every month, but maybe when you have the next meeting, you plan the meeting after that, while you're all together, with your calendars in. Just a thought that maybe you can come here and just tell us when the meeting is. Okay, so,
Why did it standing whatever you want?
while the three of you work on that and coordinate it with Mary, are there any?
Hold on a second, is the 26th open for you?
26th is open.
Let's schedule the 26th at 6 o'clock, is it?
Yep.
See how efficient that was?
26th, you had negotiations, you said.
No,
19th.
26th, you said you had negotiation.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, so 26th. Any other scheduling items? Okay, with that, are there any other communications to come before the board? Okay, do we have any student personnel items? Do we have any,
There is an update I'd like to see first.
okay. Do we have any probable imminent or pending litigation issues? No. Do we have any setting prices for sale or lease of real property? No. Okay, is there a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of reviewing student personnel, review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters?
Probably the
And probable imminent and pending litigation. I called for that, and nobody said anything. Sorry. Or probable imminent or pending litigation. So move Burke, second Teller. Questions or comments on the motion? Call the roll.
Burke?
Yes.
Heller? Lees? Graham? Yes. Miller? McGrath? Sullivan?
Aye, motion carries unanimously at 8:18. We are in closed session.